I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity for Legacy Partners in the workbook. And okay, so Elaine, just everything.
Just everything?
Yeah, just everything.
What do you mean by just everything?
Like what are you thinking? How you doing? You hanging in there? You're having headaches? Like you thinking what you got into? Like,
Definitely have headaches. But it's been an interesting journey so far. I don't regret it. So, it was a little uneasy to start with, to be honest, because it's a lot of reading and it's a lot of mental capacity intake. Um, but I'm still sane right now, so we're good.
Marla, how about you? How you doing?
Kind of with Elaine. Like at first, I was kind of overwhelmed. It taught me to be a little bit more self-disciplined, so that was great. Um, have there been moments that I like wasn't sure I did the right thing by joining? Yes, but I always get over it, and I'm always glad at the end of the day that I am doing it. So
Cool. And it's awesome. It's hard. So we're used to getting immediate gratification. We're used to doing work and getting paid for it, doing something and getting praised. And so this is delayed gratification. Um, and and that's hard. It just is. Some more so, for some personalities than others. And so there's a bonus two session in here about that's really really cool about Marlon and some of the things that she's done and that are happening. Today we're going through pages 46, 47, and 48. So, and Mary's joining us, and so she's trying to catch up, get up to speed. and and then, Cheryl, she's not able to be with us, and Kenny and Luke, so the spreadsheet, like, right? I mean, like the spreadsheet's really important. Like going up here at the top, training spreadsheet, like you got to keep track of this. Like this is a reflex. Like you have progress, like you're learning so much so fast. And so that spreadsheet, and so you got to go ahead and you got to get new team members because they're not using, like me, everything's a spreadsheet. Reflex, it's all spreadsheet. Like the whole thing, everything's a spreadsheet. You track it. This is how you track it. You have goals, all of those type of things. And so I'm sure this is all being used well. And so um, I thought that there was goals, but maybe not. We should have goals here somewhere. And so for people who aren't going through the live session who are going through, you say, well, how fast do you want to get through? So Cheryl, Kenny, and Luke. And so, here's this. And so, hey, Kenny, you did one. And Luke. Now maybe they've done more, but they haven't put it here. And so, so getting that there. And so you got to do multiple things. All right. So page 46. What you got on that, ladies?
What I have on that is to make sure that you take your consequences of not listening or not following through, whatever, you make sure that you take that upon yourself because that's your own fault.
So in today's society, it seems to me that is becoming an epidemic, a pandemic, where people aren't taking personal ownership for their own stuff. And it's like, this is not going to go well for America. This is not going to go well for people. So Kenny and I is funny. If you ever get to go on a trip with me, like ask Kenny about the trip. Like traveling with me is just interesting. You don't have to jump in and do that. I wouldn't recommend that initially. Um, and so, but you could go to a movie with me. And if you ever go to a movie with me, trust me, you've never been to a movie. When you go to a movie with me, it is a very different experience. Um, if you're want to go to church with me, you're invited to go to church. If you're want to go to like if you are Jewish and you have synagogue, I'll go with you if I can. If you're Muslim, mosque, I'll go to church with you, to mosque. Like I'm fine with going and visiting wherever you like. It's just interesting to me to see different perspectives. Anyways, so Kenny said to me, he says, "Hey, you want to go on a trip together?" And I said, "Sure." And so we had, I don't know, 2 days of train or 2 days of prep. We just went and we did a road trip to Texas. And I'm telling you, that was a cool, fun trip. Um, and one of the things, I don't know what it was that triggered it, but one of the things was I said, "Here's a lesson for you, Kenny. Everything's Mark's fault. Like, no matter what happens, it's always Mark's fault. It's not being a victim. It's just Mark will take ownership of stuff, not only his stuff that he's made mistakes on." So one of the reasons I love working with VAs, EVAs, and LPs is that like when we're in the midst of a project and there's a mistake that's made, everybody tries to take ownership. It's the coolest thing in the world. I feel like I'm in heaven. Like even if it's 90% my fault, Elise or Ginger Ann or Elaine or Marla, like everybody's trying to figure out how it's their responsibility. Like if I would have just reminded you, Mark, of the appointment, then you might not have forgotten it. You might not have missed it. It's like, no, that's kind of on me. But people are always trying to, and it's such a different culture. It's a totally different way of thinking where it's like I'm going to take ownership because when we're taking ownership of what of not only our stuff but the stuff of the other people, whoever takes ownership, they're the ones that have control. If we're blaming somebody else, then we're giving up control. We're giving up control of our own lives. So I've just learned to take ownership of myself and my wife's choices because I'm the husband and that's what good husbands do. And my children's choices because that's what good dads do. And leadership, that's what good leaders do. Or is it? And I've known this for a long time, like decades, where I'm like, the downside of me taking ownership is people are very quick to give me ownership. Like, like when I say to my kids, yeah, dad was wrong. Yep, you were wrong, dad. With employees, team members, it's like, yeah, I was wrong. Yep, you were wrong, Mark. Okay. So whoever's taking the most ownership is going to learn the most. Marla, your thoughts on page 46?
Mine was pretty much the same as Elaine's, just to make sure that I take ownership and accept the consequences to when I have poor listening skills or whatever, or especially when somebody like warns me to do something or to not do it and then I do it. Like I wouldn't have followed their advice and then there will be consequences. That's on
Yeah.
me.
And this is where, our kids, when they were just little, we taught them, good choices, good consequences, bad choices, bad consequences. It's like, and they couldn't even say consequence. They'd get, they're like, I don't know, a year and a half, and it's like good choices. Good consies, Dad. Bad choices, bad consies. We tried to teach our children, be producers, not consumers. Say, do you want to be I mean, literally, they're like, I don't know, a year and a half old. It's like, do you want to be a producer or consumer? They're like, deucer, Dad, deucer. Like, like when we're producing a lot, we feel good about ourselves. So a lot, not all depression, but a lot of depression comes from a lack of productivity. And so these are things that we sought to drill within our children's very DNA from birth. I mean, we had signs around, posters around our home. We built it into their curriculum for their homeschooling. And, I don't know. It still seems like some of them really struggle with doing that. Now, as a leader, it's important for you to go ahead and make sure you're not taking too much ownership. Like you want to be careful. Like ignorant is not knowing what to do. Stupid is not doing what we know. And so don't you want to be careful about not being too hard on yourself. Have we talked? I forget, I apologize. Um, have we talked about where you get your like your core, your identity? Have we talked about that?
Not that I remember.
So if we have, apologize for that. So what you do is write out what you want people to be know, what you want other people to see you or think of you as. So I want other people to think of me this way. So how do I want other people to think of Mark Boersma? Write that out, give it to your art mentor and your two art buddies if you have those other people. Share that there. For me, my identity comes, and this goes into the spiritual. So again, if you're not Christian, you'll probably like me. If you're Christian, you might not. Sorry, I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm Christian. I mean, I go to church every Sunday. Most people say very devout Christian, but Christians often are the ones that don't like me. And um, so for me, my identity comes from that I was created, knit together in my mother's womb. And so we can take ownership of stuff when we understand our identity. When we have a strong identity, we can take, like me taking ownership, like it was just the cutest thing in the world. I just wanted to give her a hug. Like when Marla was talking about making sales calls and somebody was rude or kind of hung up on her, or kind of mean to her. And she said that, when he hung up, she just got off the phone and started crying. See, a lot of times, like people might not want to expose themselves, like the vulnerability. But what that shows me is that, Marla is confident. Because if she wasn't confident, she wouldn't share that. She wouldn't be vulnerable. Now, does she want that known to the 8 billion people? I don't know. I haven't asked her about that. Sorry. I mean, I don't know. But to me, like it shows that she cares. And she went ahead and dried up her tears and she got back on the phone and made phone calls. And so taking ownership, taking extreme ownership, you want to be careful. Like when our natural reflex is if I'm late, even a minute, that's not acceptable. Like it's integrity. Like if I say I'm going to be something at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, I'm on time. I'm just always am. When I say always, I don't mean always. I mean, there are times, but it's a big deal. It is a huge issue if I'm late or if I miss it. And so when somebody apologizes to us and say, "Hey, sorry about being 3 minutes late," our natural response is, "It's okay." It's not okay. It's just we're not doing that other person a favor by saying it's okay. When you own your own company, I'm telling you, it's a whole different world of thinking. Okay, let's go to any other thoughts on page 46. Okay,
Um,
go ahead.
just that um if if you have something against someone, take the time to go to somebody that you know is going to be a safe person from the team and talk it through, not talk about them.
So that's a great, thank you for bringing that up. So again, I'm not familiar with the, other holy books. I'm familiar with, as my dad was a pastor, so that's what I'm familiar with. And so my guess is that the Quran and other, holy books, they go ahead and have these type of principles. I don't know because I didn't study them. But in the Bible, it talks about you have an issue against somebody, you go to that individual first. And then if that doesn't get worked out, you bring 2 to 3 people, witnesses, three people that can help sort it out. And if that doesn't work, you bring it before the whole team, the whole company, the whole group, the whole community. What does the whole mean? I'm not really sure. And um, so if you always try to work it out with the individual, that's the ideal. That is the ideal. If you don't feel you can, like for me, people think I'm the leader or something. So I know I have a position as the founder. Uh, and so if you have an issue with me, the best people to talk to, I mean, if you don't feel you can talk to me, okay, I get that. I guess sometimes I think I'm a marshmallow, but sometimes it might be a little intimidating. And so you can talk to, Elise. You can talk to Ginger Ann. You can talk to Elaine. You can talk to Marla. So you can talk to any one of them. I trust all of them. If you can work it out without me being involved, that's even better. And anything you say to them does not, it doesn't necessarily come back to me. So you can say things in confidence. On the other hand, they're not going to agree to not tell me something that you say. So don't go to them and say, I'm going to tell you something about Mark, but you got to agree not to tell. They won't do that. Why? Because they don't know what you're going to tell them. Like, did you just kill somebody? Did you murder somebody? Did you steal something? But I trust them to have wisdom to know what if they can fix it, clean it up, make it right without me knowing, the less I know, the more time I have with my grandkids. And there's 10 of them. There's a lot of them. And so again, get that down. And so what's the genius? What's the wisdom behind that? If you can go to the person one-on-one and deal with it, if you can go to the person, for women, if there's ever a client that you don't feel comfortable working with, you don't have to work with that client. You need to talk to, if there's ever a situation where you're not comfortable, you need to talk to a couple people. I mean, me or Elaine or, Elise or Marla. You need to talk to two people right away about that, because it could be a lot of different things. But you don't have to, it's your client, it's your business. You don't have to work with anybody you don't want to work with, or you're not comfortable. If it's a peer, if it's somebody else, if it's one of the inner circle, one of the other, you still need to talk to a couple people about it. So again, Elise, Ginger Ann, Elaine, Marla. So you talk to them about it, and they will help guide you through that. And so I don't think I've talked about the history with, me, like my wife and what she went through as a young girl and a teenage girl. And so feel, safety. I'm protective of the women in my life and the children tremendously. So I never want anybody to be in a dangerous situation. And sometimes we can feel uncomfortable and 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 listen to those senses, but make sure you're communicating. I've been on the receiving end too and seen other men where sometimes it's like, well, I'm not comfortable. Well, but like whatever. And so make sure it's very transparent, very open. We deal with things in a very open manner. It's really important. Okay, let's go to page 47. Revenue splits. Any questions on this?
I had a question on the bottom. It says goal date and then completed. Is the goal date is the starting and then the completed, or is it the goal date, the ending, and then just the paper completed?
Yeah, good question. So on this here, and theoretically, what it's designed to do is print off, put into a 3-ring binder. I don't think we even talked about 3-ring binders. So we might insert an intro, version into this. So in an ideal world, I'm a big 3-ring binder guy. In an ideal world, you go ahead and you print this off, and then you say, when do I want this to have it? If there's goal dates, and maybe there should be more goal dates on this, Like, when do I go ahead and want to complete this assignment? Like this page, when do I want to fill this page out? But again, you can use it in different ways than it was designed for. So it's kind of getting people into goal setting. I was a natural goal setter as a boy. My parents, they weren't real big into goals. They had goals and stuff like that. But they weren't real big into teaching their kids how to do goal setting. As a driver analytic, you're just a natural goal setter. And so getting you all into where you're setting goals, of doing things. So the income goal is a result. You don't have control over that. The actions to get to your income goal, those are things that you have control over. If you do the right actions in the right way over the right period of time, you're going to get a predictable result, which is probably your wow income goal. So your wow income goal is a subconscious telling you that you have the capability of getting to this. That's what wow income, like my wow income goal over the next 12 months. So you can have wow income goal, like my life income goal. I want to make $1 million a year. Okay. But you're not, if you're not making any money or making, whatever, 10,000 or 50,000, doesn't matter. You're probably not going to get 1 million in a year. It's going to take some time to build up for it. And maybe you shouldn't have it in a year because maybe it destroy your life. So what's the 12-month income goal is typically what we're looking for. And so that's the subconscious. The subconscious is really, really good at revealing your subconscious potential. The subconscious is terrible at telling you how to get there. Terrible. And you don't want to we want to get to the income goal, the wow income goal we want to get to. We want to get to that, but it's hard. We don't want to do the work that's required to get there. We don't want to make the sacrifice that's required to get there. We don't want to take the risk that are required to get there. So when I graduated from college, I had 6 job offers coming out of college. I took the one that was the most risky. 100% straight commission. Roseanne and I had been married for 2 years, going through college together, 3 years. Yeah, 2, 3 years. And then, and she was 3 months pregnant, and we bought a house. And I went into 100% straight commission position earning, and ended up the first 3 months, ended up earning $1 an hour. I took tremendous risk. When I look back, I'm like, wow. When it all works out, you're like, look at me. I was really courageous. Look back, like, was I stupid? I don't know. And so the 3 things that wow income goal. So your action vision plan, you get an action vision plan and it'll come up with roughly 20 actions. You do those 20 actions. If you do 90% of the plan on average, some are more, some are less, but on average, if you do 90% of the plan, you get 94% of results. If you do 50% of the plan, you get 54% of results. If you do 10% of the plan, you get 14% of results. So if your wow income goal, let's say, was 100,000, if you did 90% of the plan over a 12-month period of time, on average, you'd earn 94,000. If you do 50% of the plan over a 12-month period of time, on average, you'd earn 54,000. If you did 10% of the plan over a 12-month period of time, your earnings would be 14,000. So the reason people don't set goals often is because they don't understand the power of goal setting. They don't understand. So I'd ask people when I was interviewing for sales, I'd say, would you rather set a goal of 100,000 and make 80,000, or would you rather set a goal of 50,000 and make 50,000? So again, you rather set a goal of 100,000 and make 80, or would you rather set a goal of 50 and reach 50? And you might be surprised how many people would choose, set a goal for 50 and make 50. A lot of people, and it's okay. It's not bad. But that's how, their brain is thinking, well, I don't want to disappoint. I want to feel good about my goal. I think at the end of every goal setting period, it could be yearly, it can be quarterly, it can be monthly, it can be weekly, and it can be daily. It can be hourly. You can have goals for an hour. How many calls am I going to make? How many appointments am I going to set up? You can have hourly goals. So at the end of every goal period of time, I think you always ought to be encouraged and say, wow, I learned a lot. I fell on my face. I got hung up on. I cried, whatever it is. Like at the end of every goal period, again, yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly. At the end of every one of those, you should feel good about yourself because you set a goal and you pursued something, you learned something. Failure is always a choice. We can always choose to fail. And failure is choosing not to try or not learning. Those are the only two ways we can fail, is not to try things and not to learn things. And so when we look at that, and then so at the end of every goal period, end of hour, you say, I feel good. I didn't get the appointment, but I made 20 phone calls. I did this, I did this, I did this. And at the end of every goal period, you should always be discouraged and frustrated. Encouraged and feel good, like I accomplished something, and discouraged and frustrated because your goals, are big goals. So many stories on that. Like I had a goal of being financially independent by the time I was 30. It took me until I was 54, I think it was, ish. Um, so I was only late 24 years. I remember we had a retirement party at Synergy for me. So at 30, I retired. My mom said, Mark, I don't think you're going to hit that goal. And I'm like, I don't know, Mom. I'm not going to give up. And she says, I'm really concerned about you. I said, why? And she said, because it's such a crazy high goal. And I laughed and I said, and so I'm 29 years old. And I laughed and I said to her, Mom, it's not the goal that I'm pursuing. It's the journey. It's the journey. So I don't get discouraged about not achieving my goals. My goals are insane and it's okay. Different personalities, driver and expressive, will tend to go ahead and set crazy on BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. So they'll set crazy high goals. The analytic and amiable will tend to set lower goals. It's not good or bad. It just is what it is. I just don't want to ever leave anything on the table, for me. Other thoughts on page 47. Okay. Page 48.
So the 4 steps to great leadership. Um, One, the future vision. Um, my thing is, I guess, for the future vision is to get back into the consistency of making phone calls. And I'd like to do that in 1 month period, while I'm still learning the rest of everything else around me about the business.
Cool. So what you do is we're motivated um, on two things, gaining pleasure and avoiding pain.
Okay.
So pain is, they say in psychology, um, they say that avoiding pain is a higher motivator. So we'll do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure.
Okay.
And so what you want to do is you want to go ahead and set up where, you're going to go ahead and you implement, it's self-discipline. And so if you don't achieve the things that you set out to achieve, you don't do the work that you're doing, supposed to be doing, and that's where priorities in life are really important. And so for me, again, your priorities in life, it's a natural law. Your priority in life can be different from mine. That's totally okay. But these are mine. And my number one that I seek is a personal relationship with God. So that for me, that's number one. Number two is my relationship with my wife. Number three is my relationship with my kids and my family. Number four is my economic engine providing for my family. And number five is the world, impacting the world, my life vision. All of it's connected into my life vision, but it's massive. It's just that's me. Um, and so what's hard is to be, when you're a business owner, it's hard to be successful in all five of those areas. And we probably ought to have some, we probably ought to maybe a bonus session sometime podcast about how I had date nights with my wife, even when I'm working 110 hours a week. How do you not miss programs with your kids when you're working 110 hours a week? How do you keep up with the stress? How do you handle it? How do you balance it? How do you do all of those things? And so I just added, Mark's books. And so here are books. And so one of those books are good to great. Disciplined People, Disciplined Thinker, and Discipline in Doing and Taking Action. So it's a phenomenal book. I'd highly recommend. So the reason I think the way I think is in large part because of the books that I've read and how I've internalized them. So I'm going to go back to the top at the end of this and change the version number. Or, now I'll do that so at the top, there's a version number 4.07, whatever it is. So anytime there's a change to the document, you always, and I mean always, change the version number. So whoever has got it printed out knows what version they have. Is there a new version number? And little version numbers, like if it's 4.07, I'll do 4.08. All I did is a little. If it's 4.08, I might, if it's a big change, 4.18 or 2.8. If it's a big, massive change, then it goes to a 5.0. So this is going to be very important in what we're doing. Other thoughts that you had, Elaine, on this?
I was curious on would you recommend certain books first? Because I do have the Think and Grow Rich book that I'm reading now, but I didn't know if there's like a certain one where you would start.
Yeah, that's a great book. I mean, I didn't read that book, and I don't know how I got through and got 3 business degrees in college without reading that book. And so it is. It's not the reason I heard a lot about it. The reason I didn't go ahead and read it is because I'm not really interested in getting rich. So I'm not really interested in getting rich, but it's not about financial wealth. I mean, it is, but it's not. So I don't know. I haven't ever been asked that question before. And so these are the different books. And so they're kind of in the order that I've maybe read them, kind of, sort of, but I'm not sure. Like Stephen Covey's, that one's a really good one. Wow. Like that one's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's a really good one. Think and Grow Rich. Yep. Yepper. That's an awesome. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yep. A Thomas Jefferson Education. Like if you're I mean, it often falls, education of the children often fall on the mom. I'm telling you, that shows how our educational system in America was designed. And that thing, oh my goodness, like that thing, crazy. And here's when Tim was 9 or 10 years old, our youngest son, he and I did with Tom Coons, 10 different, podcasts on each of these subjects. Unbelievable. Um, so in answer to your question, yeah, I guess talk to your art mentor. You can get in with these and kind of go through them in order, in that. Sorry, I don't have a better answer. Anything else, Elaine, you got?
No, I think that's it.
Marla, anything you got?
On page 48, I was just reminded that excuses, like if I make excuses, they won't get me to my goals. And then I watched the video, and that helped me to, again, realize that I need to picture what I want to accomplish and then think about what needs to be done to accomplish it and then who will do it. Because it won't get done by itself, I guess.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, you're all doing. And see, when we go through, it's interesting, isn't it? Like I've told people go through and read the workbook and they don't do it. They don't do the workbook. And I'm like, that's kind of, but as we're going through it together, like there's so much stories, there's so much history, there's so much thought. Some of these things have taken literally 2 to 3 decades to figure out. You guys get the benefit, you guys get the benefit of not having to spend the 2, 3, 4 decades. The downside is you don't appreciate it as much. You didn't have to wrestle with it and figure out, why is this not working? What does it take to work? Mary or Rosanna, anything else either of you have?
No, I've seen the adventures that you have done from reading the Good to Great book and how you have used that throughout coaching and people have really caught on. So,
Oh, there's the flywheel principle in there. I'm getting tingles right now, my whole body. I know we're over, apologize for that. But I'm getting tingles right now because I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many times it's like, there's no way I'm going to survive this. It's not going to work. I want to give up. I feel like giving up. And it's like, the flywheel and then the three different elements to greatness. And oh, that book, unbelievable. And yeah. So when you read um the the one paragraph, like hopefully it causes you to go ahead and think about, it causes you to like get the book. Seriously. And then if you have children, like getting them getting them to read the book or talk about the book or share segments of the book or have questions on the book, all of those type of things, because there's an assault on our children and our grandchildren, and they're being led down to think a way that's not going to create success. It's an illusion. And we're fighting as parents and grandparents, we're fighting against this way of thinking. And these books and what's in these books will help you, but they will help your children as well. And it may be literally the difference between their life and their death, sadly so. Oh, um, yeah, we try to keep these things as short as possible. Sometimes get excited about it, but hopefully these are beneficial. Definitely share, go through with a couple other people, right? It's a lot more fun. Well, what do you think about it? What do you think about it? Don't just, talk about it, talk about it throughout the week and connecting with one another. You're going to see things other people won't see. They're going to see things you won't see. Together, we can truly accomplish so much more than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.